everybody. Good afternoon and welcome. We're going to do the fifth in the series on codependency today called The Roles of Codependencies. I will just emphasize something. In these first 5 talks, we've talked about codependency and what it is. And today we'll kind of bring that to a conclusion. And then starting next week, we'll talk about the recovery process and how it works. I want to begin by doing a reading I picked from my For Today book, which is my daily meditation book for my eating disorder program. And it's the reading from July 16th. People pleasing has a twin called resentment. Excessive compromise, always smiling and saying yes when I want to say no, is bound to take a heavy toll in terms of self-esteem and consequently in my relationships. Fear of going off the deep end or blowing up keeps me from letting people know how I really feel. As a result of working the steps of this program, I'm developing the emotional balance I need to express disagreement without hostility. Progress in this area is slow. It begins with feeling good about myself. For today, I will seek my own approval first, then the approval of others. I wanted to share that because when we talk about roles, it's almost like so many of us in growing up, because we really don't have a good sense of who we are. It's like we play different roles at different times in the course of our journey in life. Another name for them are masks. And so I have all kinds of masks. I basically have a mask for my family, a mask for my job, a mask for the people down the street. I'm constantly changing my personality, things to that effect. And many of us kind of come into what I call 3 categories of roles. Now, really, in reality, I want to share these 6 basic fundamental roles that codependents play. Yet in reality, I group them into 3 because they go together. For example, the first 2 roles are the chief enabler and the addicted person, the person with the addictive personality. These 2 roles are extremely alike. See, chief enablers want to fix the addict. Addicts manipulate the chief enablers. And so very many times in life, there's this game that gets played. And many of us over the course of our journey in life have kind of rolled into these roles. Many of us rolled into the role of addiction. So as a result, then what do I have to do? I have to always be on my guard. I have to always be manipulating. I have to constantly have somebody I can blame for what's going on inside of me. Chief enablers, on the other end, are people that basically are addicted to the addict. And as a result, they're constantly trying to save the addict, fix the addict. They get angry, they get mad, so they go back and forth yelling and screaming at each other. They're simply roles, and we play them because we've learned over the years. For example, the one role I've learned is I can constantly work on somebody else. Why? To avoid looking at me. Whenever I make somebody else my project, that's why Al-Anon teaches us to detach with love, to realize the facts I can't fix anybody or save anybody. But chief enablers don't always believe that. It's almost like we're strange people. We have to go at it until we get sick and tired of being sick and tired, or until we wear out. And then we finally realize, wait a minute, I got to go look in the mirror and I have to work on me. Now, it's up to many of us, myself included, that's extremely scary. Because for the first 44 years of my life, I played the role of both the chief enabler and the addict. I didn't even know I was playing them. It was so normal to me, I fell right into them. As a priest, I was always Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Fantastic. I didn't realize the fact that I was actually enabling others. And my famous story I have about this is when I was stationed in Atlantic City as a priest. Now, if you're a recovering addict or you're an active addict, you probably would have loved me back then. Because I went $60,000 in debt from giving money away to addicts. They come to the back door with a beautiful sob story, and I would bail them out, get them hotel rooms, do all kinds of stuff, because I wanted them to be my friends. But in reality, I had this big target on my back. It was totally amazing. I learned of my lesson about the chief enabling thing and also about the addiction thing when one day a street wino from Atlantic City named Sonny came to the back door of the rectory because he was a person that aggravated me all the time. And he said to me, he said, "Hey, priest, get in your car and take me to Carrier Clinic up in North Jersey. I want to sign myself in for the 6-month program." I actually thought I was getting rid of him. I would have taken that sucker anywhere just to get him out of Atlantic City. But 6 months later, he had the audacity to come back. He knocked on the door, I answered the door, and he said to me, "Hey, priest," he said, "you know you're an idiot." I said, "What?" He said, "You're an idiot." I said, "Why?" He said, "See all those junkies and alcoholics, people like us that come to the door all the time. You give them everything, you listen to them, you take care of them. You stop it," he said. "They come to the door, offer them treatment. I bet you don't get too many visitors anymore." See, I've learned over the years that I can burn myself out so easily. And I did so. I didn't realize I was enabling. I didn't realize I was literally, to me, I saw it as doing good. And maybe it did some good in the long run, I don't know. On the other end, I basically was stressing myself and my anxiety level that I realized my compulsive behaviors kicked right in. Both alcohol, my eating disorder, everything kind of fell right into place. But see, I'm a good guy. I'm what you call the nice addict. You see, I don't go to back alleys and stuff. I go to one hiding place called my room. And as a result, it's a place where I can hide. Because as addicts, we're good at doing that. But see, it's almost like we migrate into these roles. I call them survivor roles. They become a normal for me. The other two to go together are the family hero and the family scapegoat. Now, they're the opposite ends of the spectrum. The family hero is the one person in the family everybody can depend on. They always come through. They're always on top. They're always available. They never go to sleep, I guess, I don't know. But the bottom line is, as a priest, I was the family hero. I did all the weddings, all the funerals, I did everything. Everybody came to me with everything. And the bottom line was, I always tried to make sure I always was able to get it done. But heroes have a problem. They're very lonely people. Because literally it means you have to always be on duty. You have to always make sure you always come through. You have to always make sure you have an answer. Because people have you up on this high pedestal. Don't you dare fall off it. The opposite end of that is called the scapegoat. That's the one person in the family that always gets in trouble, always causes problems, no matter where they go. You know, in the comic strip, we refer to this as Pigpen. You know, and also the concept where I got this constant craziness going on in my life. As a result, what do? I see myself as no good, as rotten and terrible, and therefore everybody in my family system puts me down, tells me how rotten and how terrible I am. Here's the scary thing though. When you get into these roles, they become so normal to you. And it's so hard to even hear about them or break out of them. I know how many people I got upset at, Sonny included, because literally I don't want to hear that. And I'm learning now that things I don't want to hear, I need to hear. It's a big part of it. And that scapegoat is like anything else. You notice something about heroes and scapegoats? Normal, everyday people don't make the newspaper. Heroes and scapegoats do. You see, you're constantly being built up, or you're constantly looking at things from the other side. I'll give you an example of this. I remember when I was working at Charter Fairmount Hospital in Philadelphia, going back to the 80s now, and we had an adolescent program there. So I was giving my talks at the adolescent program, and I met this lady. Her daughter, who was 16 years old, was in the treatment facility. So I was talking to her, and I said, I see you here a lot. She says, well, I come every day to check on my daughter. I come here 7 days a week because I want her to know I care about her. I said, well, by the way, do you have any other children? I have 2 other girls. Tell me about them. Oh, you never know they're around. They're not a problem. They go to school. They get their work done. Basically, sometimes I don't even know. I don't even see them that much. I said, do yourself a favor, please. Come and see your daughter at the rehab twice a week. Go spend a lot more time with your other 2 daughters, because you're giving them a message. If you want mommy's full attention, get in trouble. And that's where that scapegoat thing comes into play. So many of us have a tendency to literally migrate towards that, because we're so used to things always happening to us. We go to the negative side all the time. I laugh about this, though, in a kind of a funny way. My neighbor across the street, she's an old Italian lady from South Philadelphia, and my wife pretty much takes her places to get her money orders and stuff to that effect. So anyway, every time you visit her, if you're there 10 minutes, you feel like going right down into the pit with her. Everything is wrong with everything in the whole entire world. I call her Miss Negativity, and she's scary to be around. I'll go over and she'll say to me, how are you? I said, I'm doing really good. No, you're not. I said, I'm not? Okay. And she'll bug me till I finally make something up just to keep her quiet. I knew there was something wrong with you. See, everybody's got to have a problem. Everything's a problem. The scapegoats are so used to the negative. They're so used to the negative behavior that they stay stuck in it. That's another form of codependency. Same thing as regards heroes. Because the scary thing about heroes, you make one mistake, you go from the top right down to the bottom. I left the priesthood. I did every funeral in my family till I left the priesthood. Then I couldn't even find out who died. Scary. You go down quickly because you let people down. Remember when I got married and I called my aunt and I said, I told her all about my excitement about getting married. And she said, little boy, you don't know what you're getting into. So in short, she let me know. The bottom line was, what I got into, I enjoyed. What can I tell you? But the bottom part is negative. So it's those 2 sides, that concept, and that real healthiness is that balance, being in the middle. So we don't want to be scapegoats, or we don't want to be heroes. We just want to be people, celebrating and enjoying life. The last 2 are referred to as the mascots. There's what we call the passive mascot, and then what we call the aggressive mascot. What's a mascot? These are individuals who go through life, they have no idea who they are. So what do? They constantly try to latch on to others. So the passive mascot is the individual who wants everybody to make decisions for them. Now think about that just for a minute. If somebody always makes decisions for you, then if they don't work out, you have the perfect person to blame, right? I don't want any responsibility. You make all the decisions. So this way I can just look, I can be like a little kid and sit back. You know, there's that famous movie, Marty. And in the movie, it's an old one, I know. And Marty, what do you want to do tonight? Whatever you want to do. Where do you want to go? Wherever you want to go. What do you want to eat? Whatever you want to eat. Hey, see what I'm saying is I have no idea who I am. So you tell me who I am. I'm passive because I'm literally just following along. And the scary thing about these types of individuals, whatever crowd they end up with, they try to fit into that crowd. And that's why a lot of them get into a lot of trouble. Now, the first resident of our house, way back when I started Starting Point, was a gentleman named Marty. God rest his soul. But Marty was mentally challenged, and Marty came to us way back when we started the house. And Marty was the nicest guy on the face of the earth. But once again, he got into a lot of trouble. He worked for the railroad, got into a lot of trouble because he kept hanging out with people who got him into trouble. He didn't realize they were manipulating him, even making fun of him, using him. You know, they send him out to get cigarettes, all kinds of stuff. Behind his back, they were laughing. He didn't realize that at all. And even when it came to alcohol, he began to drink because everybody else drank, and then they would play this game with him. They would literally force alcohol on him and play a game and try to get him drunk all the time. Well, he ended up, as a result of that, his job sent him to treatment, and treatment sent him to us. But you know, look at the other side of it. I'm glad he was there. But Marty had the hardest time at all, trying to figure out what was going on. But, like the mascot, he joined AA, and whatever they wanted him to say, he said. Every meeting, that hand went up. My name is Marty. I got a drinking problem. You know, Marty didn't know what he had, but he raised that hand up, and he had what everybody told him he had. You know, God rest his soul. He died in his 90s. He's still part of Starting Point. We're taking care of him. My wife and I kind of adopted him, and we basically helped take care of him to the day he died. He's buried in a plot of ground I have out at Calvary Cemetery. Beautiful man. But again, he was that mascot. The other type mascot is the one that you don't want to be around. I call that the aggressive mascot. These are the ones that will drive you crazy. Because literally, they'll walk alongside of you and say, do you love me? Do you love me? You sure you love me? You positive? You still love me? You sure? Positive? You didn't change your mind, did you? Or at meetings, they're the ones who volunteer for 18 jobs. They want to do them all. You know, at parties, you know, when they get drunk or high, they're the ones who dance on top of the piano with a lampshade on top of their heads. They're always visible. So even in recovery, they can drive you crazy. But when you're around them and they got your attention, Because again, they're empty on the inside. So they're always looking for somebody else constantly that they can get answers from. Who am I? What am I all about? You tell me, please. I'll become whatever you want me to become. See, one's aggressive and one's passive. But they're roles that we play as codependents. Now, along with this, I've put some other roles together. Actually, I have a sheet of paper I use when I run my groups. There are 15 different roles that codependents can play. So don't get nervous. I'm not going to go through all 15 of them. Okay, Lisa, don't worry about it. I won't do it, I promise. So it's really simple. I picked 5 of them just to share with you. Because I really believe it's funny sometimes how we do this. And all this goes back to the fact that inside of me, my self-esteem is so low. I have no idea who I am. So it's literally, I have to be able to play a role so I'm able to fit in. The most important one, most powerful role that codependents play is the role of the clown. I use the term of a clown because you know what clowns do? They change their personality based on who they're with. They can give you a happy, they can give you a sad. They just change the makeup. So they're performers. And as a result, they're constantly trying to make everybody okay. What do you want me to be? Then I will be it. This way, you'll be happy. So now I'm on stage. I got to change my costume based on who I'm with. Because literally, I live that concept of the clown. And clowns are good at this. Because they're supposed to. They're entertaining. But do you want to really be an entertainer? There's so many codependents because we don't have a good sense of ourselves. We get into that clown role. You know, and I got to make everybody happy all the time. The people-pleasing thing I read about today. It's a big part of it. The next one is the boxer, a fighter. You know something about boxers? They never know when to get the hell out of the ring. They're constantly taking beatings, getting abused, going through all kinds of stuff, and then they go back for more, and back for more, and back for more. Because this time, it's going to be different. Now, we see this a lot in people that are abused, people that literally got used to it, and abuse has become their normal. We see a lot of times in battered women, battered men, situations like this. As a result, then, it's like the boxer. A lot of boxers don't know when to quit, even though they're getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I never forget, years ago, I did a lot of workshops for a center whose place I don't want to mention because they keep it pretty secret. It's a house for women that have been battered, for women that basically need a place to stay to get away from the batterer. And I do workshops for them. I was doing a workshop one day, and it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And this one lady stood up and she said to me, "Excuse me, Vince, but I have to leave." I said, "Where are you going?" She said, "I have to go home. My husband expects his supper on the table." I said, "But you're not home. You're at the center." "Oh, it's okay. Everything's done. He called me and told me that he's sorry and he'll be okay. Everything will be fine when I get home." So what did she do? She went home, back to the hospital, back to the center, back to home, back to the hospital, constant and constant, constant. And what's so scary about that role, people don't even realize it. There's one lady I work with, and this is one of the saddest stories. She was battered, but then she figured it out. I love this. She came to me and she said, "I figured it out, Vince. You see, I really want to stay around my husband. I don't want to really be with him. I want to be around him." I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, he's got a lot of money. We have a beach house. We have all this kinds of stuff. So what I do is, when he gets into that mood, I just avoid him. I spend a lot of time away from him. But I got the benefits. So I'm learning. Every once in a while, I got to take a little beating here and there." It blew me away. She's actually just saying to me, "Well, it's something I'm used to, but I look at the other side of it, what I have." So it's literally always, I'm going to manipulate and do what I got to do to avoid getting hurt. Unfortunately, what happens a lot of times is people get into this because this is almost like a normal. We don't know how to break it unless we get help, be able to work through it. That's some of the stuff I'll talk about a lot when we get into the recovery process and how it works. It's just amazing sometimes how we literally get caught up in codependency. The other side of codependency, the good side, is called interdependency. We'll talk more about that when we get into the recovery process. Another role that people get into is what I call the toy. See, toys get manipulated, they get played with, and then people get tired of them and then they discard them. That's a scary role. I always think about Toy Story, and poor Woody. He was the number one toy. And then something else came along, and all of a sudden he wasn't number one anymore. He was back in the toy box, it was discarded. How many times when many of us, as codependents, literally, burnt bridges around us. We found the magical answer to something, then later on found out it wasn't magical. We're looking for the magical solution to everything. And then what happens is we get taken advantage of, we get used, and then we get rejected. And rejection is a powerful thing for adult children in codependence. And so like a toy, I get thrown back into the toolbox. I don't need you anymore. I got what I needed out of you. It's just amazing sometimes, some of the roles and things people do to us. And yet, we fall into these roles because, we love the attention. We love being the center of attention. But that only lasts for a short period of time. Then all of a sudden, I'll look to someplace else for the attention. I'll look to something else in life. So we're not toys. We're not to be played with. We're not to be used, not to be abused. The other one is, we talked about this already, is the hero, the pedestal person. I get all my affirmation, everything from what I do. But I have no sense of my own self, and I can't give affirmation to myself as a person. Another one I find very interesting, and I talk about it a lot, and many of us fall into this category. I call it the hit lady for the mob, or the hit man for the mob. See, again, these are individuals who literally can do almost anything, but everything's cold. It's just business. I can do whatever I want to do. So I'm just cold. I have no sense of what I'm doing or where I'm doing because I don't want anybody to get too close to me. And if they do, they're going to get it. I'll manipulate them or I'll chase them away. It's scary. When you have a lot of fear on the inside of you, I put this wall around me. I don't want people to get close to me. So what do? I go back to performing just to be able to survive. And survival is a powerful process when you come right down to it. The other one I want to talk about is what I call the Cinderella complex. The Cinderella complex. I'm looking for the magical person, the magical place, or the magical job. Well, I'll never have any more responsibility. Everything will be taken care of. It doesn't work that way, I'm sorry. See, life means I've got to learn to look into the mirror and realize the fact the only role that's important is just being yourself. To develop a sense of your own individuality. Be able to realize the fact that we're not role players. But the sad part about it is getting into these roles I'm talking about, and there's a lot more. What happens after a while, I just get so wrapped up, so closed, that I literally become the role. And it's scary. Now, I shared that story with you, and it's just, when I studied speech and drama, I was involved in putting plays on. And one of the plays I was involved in was called Starlight 17. Now, in order to get a good grade, how the professor did it, for 2 weeks prior to the play, I had to live the role I was going to play in the play. I was the role of Animal, the gruffy guy that always kind of walked around his long johns and everything. And so literally for 2 weeks prior to the play, how to go to class that way, how to be not shaved, messy, how to just constantly live the way animal used to live. And then we put the play on for 2 weeks. Now, 2 weeks living the role in the classroom and everything. 2 weeks putting the play on, that's 4 weeks, 1 month. At the end, when it was all over, and we got our grades, you can go back to being you. But here's the scary part. Just in 4 weeks, I got comfortable being animal. I got comfortable in the role. I actually had a difficult time getting out of it and coming back to me. They even had a psychologist work with us to help us deprogram ourselves out of the roles. You know, it's just amazing sometimes. That's only in 4 weeks. Now look at some of us. We may have been playing the role of the chief enabler or the hero or something to this effect all of our life. And now I've got to be able to find my way out of the role and go into that beautiful concept of who am I? What am I all about? What about my personhood? See, to begin to become your own person, to give yourself a voice, to have a voice, to be able to express your feelings, to be able to open them up. But I need help in doing that. And so literally breaking these patterns, the patterns of codependency, is we get caught up in it and then we worry about it. We can become codependent to an organization. You know, I look at Starting Point, and I say this all the time. People say to me, what about it? I say, well, the Starting Point's supposed to be, it'll be. If it's not supposed to be, then it won't be. It's a place that if it's doing good, it'll continue to do good. Because the higher power will find a way to make it do good. So don't worry. You take it a day at a time, do the best you can do, you'll learn. Now apply that to our own lives. Each one of us is a unique individual. Each one of us is special. Each one of us is the only one there is on the face of this earth. Each one of us, we have to learn to celebrate who we are and simply just be who we are. We have nothing to prove to anybody else, just to ourselves. So to celebrate the gift of me as a person, because I've said this 1,000 times, every one of us is a book in process of being written. Your story is the greatest story on the face of the earth. I try to encourage people, write your story. You'll find out a lot about yourself. Because again, we've gone on a journey, a heck of a journey. Some of us a lot longer than others. And we're still learning, we're still experiencing, we're still growing. But it takes time to break out of these codependent roles. You get stuck in them all the time. You know, I have many more roles, but I just wanted to highlight these, you know. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask my receptionist to put a copy of these 15 different roles into the website and where it says alternative resources. It'll take a week or so to get it in, so don't look for it right away, but I will eventually get it in there. Because all told, there are 15 roles that codependents play. So I guess what I wanted to really emphasize today, and in my prayer I'll say it, I wanted you to realize the value of yourself as a person. We are God's creatures. We are God's creation. Each one of us is valuable. Each one of us is gifted. But unfortunately, when you get caught up in roles, it's like everybody wants me to be this, so I can't be that. I gotta learn the difference between yes and no. Be able to take care of what I gotta take care of in the course of my journey. So my prayer today is that we can identify our roles, but ask the higher power, ask God for understanding to help us to release them and look at them in a positive way. So Let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer, the God of our understanding, our divine presence. We ask you to be our guide and be our strength. You have created us as a beautiful human being. Teach us now to realize and take care of ourselves on this earth. I have learned something powerful in the course of my own journey. And I learned it from somebody in a comic strip where it said, I've met the enemy is me. Help me, God. Help me to see the beauty in myself, the gentleness and the love. Help me to realize that slowly but surely I can grow stronger and become a new person. As we come together today in prayer, we ask you to help us to relinquish the roles maybe we've hidden for a long period of time. You open to new things and new directions, to be open to learn and grow from the past, to experience that life's journey is a good one. So we pray and we ask this guidance and direction. We thank you. We pray for it in your name. Amen.